special treat because the other campfires have had two speakers, but today we've got three, so you get a bonus speaker. We'll be hearing from them for 10 minutes each, and then at the end of the evening we'll have a Q&A and an open discussion, and that is really open to everyone. So if you have a question, if you have advice that you'd like to share, or any kind of tips or anything along those lines, then please do unmute yourself and join the conversation. If you don't want to speak out though, you can put something in the chat box as well. And while our speakers are talking this evening about their amazing projects, please do put any questions for them in the chat so we can visit them at the end of the conversation and just keep that going. That's always the loveliest part of the evening, is just hearing from everyone, and we really want to hear what you're up to in your local neighbourhood, what you're doing for nature and wildlife where you live. So please do show off a little bit and tell us about what projects you're getting up to as well. I think that's everything. Am I forgetting anything, Sorry? I feel like that's everything.
No, that's all good. That's all good.
Great.
Brilliant.
Okay, so I think, yeah, we're a little bit behind, so apologies about that. But let's kick off. Oh, sorry, Sophie, do you want to mention a couple of words about Team Wilder before we get started?
Yeah. I just wanted to quickly say about Team Wilder. So Team Wilder is a growing movement of people who notice and celebrate nature in their day-to-day lives. And why we're here today is we want to inspire and empower people to do something for nature in their community, at home, and share what they do as well, so we can share all that knowledge. And that's what it's all about today. So we've got this as the campfire event. There's another campfire event coming up. It's going to be September, but that one will be in person. And this is also part of the Festival of Nature. So when we do the follow-up, we'll send out a link as well, because there's a lot going on there, including us being at Millennium Square this weekend. So we hope to see you there as well. There's loads of Team Wilder resources. Just to name a few, we've got Find a Funder, which has got loads of local funding pots and what's available. It's all local, it's all relevant. How to set up a group, how to take over green space, loads of resources, and we're adding to them all the time and updating them. Also wildlife gardening, case studies that's showcasing what people are doing for nature, such as the speakers that we've got today, and loads of people that have done things at home and in their community. So those are being updated all the time. It's got lots of advice on there as well. And also we've got a really strong offering for community groups. So we've got our Team Wilder community ecologist. Esther's in the call somewhere here as well. And you can get free advice. You can get, we know who's been to see her, who's had a visit from Esther. She's full of really good advice. She'll come out to people's gardens, community spaces, give really amazing advice, what to plant where. You get a report at the end of it as well. So it's really useful and it's free. So please make the most of that as well. We've got Team Wilder maps. I'll share the links for those afterwards, but that's a really good way to see what's happening in your community, and the Team Wilder actions map to see what people are doing, see what's happening on your road, hopefully. So yeah, just loads of inspiration. And also we've got the wildlife gardening competition. That's just all about highlighting what people are doing, sharing really good wildlife practices, and some great prizes are there as well. So please enter that. We'll share all those details afterwards anyway, but we wanted to give you a quick update of those. And Emma will give another update about wildlife champions after we've heard from our community speakers. So there's loads going on. We just really want to support people in doing the amazing things that they're doing for wildlife and for people. Brilliant. So that brings us through to our first speaker. So Judith, are we ready? So yes, this lady is very inspirational. She's done loads in her community. She's very well known. Everybody will probably want to have a Judith in their community as well, because she gets so much stuff done, brings people together. Brilliant. So I'm just going to share my screen, hopefully. And Judith can see what she's doing. Right, is that sharing?
Oh, yay!
Yeah, nice one.
Brilliant.
So welcome everybody. My name is Judith, but I do call myself Judith, and I'm happy with either or, as long as it starts with a J and ends with a, that's fine. I'm a local community resident, happily in St Paul's, and have been for too many years to mention. Can I just check everybody can hear before I carry on?
Loud and clear.
Yeah, great. Okay. So before we started, this idea of the campfire is great. So I know we can't imagine ourselves around a campfire right now, but that warmth of community is one of the reasons why I do what I do, and campfires kind of give me that feeling as well. The picture you can just see there, I just found a quote on internet, and it says, "A campfire is oh no, that's the wrong one. Lost it. My brain's gone. I'll find it in a minute. The dyslexia is coming back. Anyway, so this picture here is me surrounded by bluebells at Lee Woods. And I wanted to go, I saw something in, I don't know if it was in the Wilder magazine, about bluebells and where to go and visit. And all of a sudden, I just wanted to be surrounded by bluebells. So me and a friend that weekend, I went to find out where they were, and here I am, surrounded by bluebells. And it was such a beautiful, gorgeous day about 4 weeks ago. My journey into nature is a long, convoluted one. Basically, from I wouldn't sit on grass to God, lots of reasons why me and nature were not best of friends. I got chased by a young boy when I was 8, maybe a bit older, by a slug. And I can let you know that was rather traumatizing. I think I even swore and got told off by 2 of the adults there because we were on camp. And I'm crying, trying to explain, but he's chasing me with a slug, you don't understand. So I think COVID was my liftoff into the journey of nature, if I'm honest. And there's a piece of land by me called the Seventh Corner, and I kept moaning about it and all this other stuff. And basically my 2 good friends just said to me, you're a community worker, why don't you get on with it? And I'm like, no, it's the council's job, it ain't mine. They get paid, they got all my money. It's a disgrace. And then one day she just said, look, if I come here again and you haven't done something, me and you, in the nicest sense, but some of you might understand what that means. And basically I started digging with a fork that she lent me, and it grew. There you can see some cabbage and some Brussels we had growing, which was fantastic. Basically, I call it gangster gardening. And if you check out a gentleman called Ron Finley, that's what he calls it in America. He's quite big with what he's doing. I don't know what to call myself, but I'm calling myself a gangster. Obviously, I'm a gangstess, I think. And I call myself a plantivist. I just made it up. And you heard it here. Do not steal it. You got to credit me with it in Wikipedia. So that was my kind of beginning seed. Then you just see a lot more. I also saw what looking after a space did to community conversations as people were walking by. I had children coming to plant with me. I had adults offering to help. It just grew and grew and grew. And during lockdown, a film was done. You'll see in the middle there's a young lady who happens to be my niece, actually, but we had a plant power event, and we were filmed by the University of Wales by Oscar-nominated Florence Aisi. That film's now on tour around, I don't know, wherever she's taking it. And I'm waiting for my Oscar nomination at the moment. It doesn't seem to be coming. So it did play in New York about 2 weeks ago at a Black theatre there, which is great. And we showed it twice in St Paul's. And on the second one, we had Plant Power, a Gift. And we focused on young people. And the young people then did a workshop with me and Amrish, who's next to you from Bristol Rainforest. He is fab. It'd be great if you can get him on here, actually. He's just amazing. And we did a workshop that day where every young person went home with a gift, and they gifted back. We bought, is it David Austin roses? Because I like them. And we planted them in the Rose Memorial area in St Paul's. So that giving back was done. It was a mutual day. It was a beautiful day. I mean, we've done so much stuff. I've just been awarded, luckily, from Bristol Redispro, £1,000, all about 20 projects, I think. We got £1,000. I want to do something called Planting Happiness which is something I did last year. Obviously, it's going to be late in the season for the blooms to come out, but we'll do this for next year to get ready. And we did that, and it went really well last year. And we had soup and a little bit of parties and stuff like that. I've taken over. I'm rushing in what I'm saying because I'm getting a bit nervous. I just want to, I mean, the quote, I've just found it now. So it says, the wilderness is not a luxury, but a necessity for the human spirit. And I kind of just, in the sense of campfires, in the sense of gardening and connection, it brings that. I know it's not the wilderness as per se, but for some of our young people and community members, just stepping into a green space on their local corner is actually quite a big deal. It's not an everyday issue for some people, not everybody, but for some, especially when our green spaces aren't well managed. And that's what I'm trying to change, is that, wow, isn't this beautiful to have daffodils just popping up all over the place. I planted about 3 years ago about 400 tulips just in random places, and that color just popping up. And I think some of you will know this, the history that goes with tulips. You know, they were more expensive than houses. They were seen to be quite, you know, they were quite wealthy for you to have tulips. So it's kind of interesting how it's I'm utilizing them now. And my dream around the roses area is to have black roses memorial area. That hasn't been achieved yet. What am I needing? What would I like? I would just like more care. So this is the 7th corner, just there, and if you can see, it's actually by one of the 7 saints. I mean, that vision of it is looking beautiful. At the moment, it's a bit of a dried up, it's a beautiful space. It's got plenty of opportunities to grow. There we are, my place is just in the corner there. We've done some wildflowers in the little corner there. But I mean, the council have been quite happy. I mean, definitely read the stuff that Sophie's got about taking over green spaces. I don't ask for permission. That's partly gangster gardening. If I have to, I'll ask for forgiveness. I don't think planting plants and giving back to the community is something that I should have to get permission for. I think all green spaces should be reclaimed and repurposed, especially in the height of what's going to be happening in the world right now around food poverty on our doorsteps, when there is land in different ways that we can repurpose a lot better. I don't know if that's my 10 minutes. Oh, yes. So, oh, thank you for that. Presume, yeah, if it's not, so, I mean, if Sophie can, if any of you ask her, she'll send you this information. The last one is Flourishing in St. Paul. So that's basically what I'm part of. That's my aim. My dream is to have 7 corners, urban corners in St. Paul's, flourishing in different ways, areas that wouldn't be used, aren't being, to reclaim them and repurpose them. Again, through, you know, ask forgiveness later. That's my policy. And you can see the people we've had involved, and there's me in the pink in the corner, there's Gullit, there's the young people who came to plant, and there's Alice, who gave us some plants and would help us out. And I think it was Rhiannon was, what do you call it when you're into agriculture? Is it RHS? Royal something. She was a local person, but she done a course in with RHS, and she would come and give us some of her knowledge. And that made a difference as well, because I'm not somebody who knows, I just do. And I think that's the best thing with this, is just to do it, bring light to people, you know, and food. You know, you can see people have had spinach, they've had broccoli, we even got sweet corn. And today, my last question, I've got black sweet corn, so I'm going to be growing that there. So that'll be nice. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Sorry, I stopped talking and I'll let the others carry on now. But thank you for this opportunity. And I'm always on the search for any support in any way to just make things happen. Actually, and the one thing I don't know about the other gardeners you'll find is about water. So because I'm taking on urban, I'm going to say urban, I don't like the words they use, urban plots, water is the problem. And I, you know, me carrying 2 red you know, what do you call them, watering cans about 12 times a day is a bit much. So anybody's got any ideas of how I can collect rainwater on sites for some of these urban areas would be brilliant, actually. That would make a difference. But thank you. Long way continue on. Thank you, Sophie.
That's brilliant. Thanks ever so much, Judith. It's always good to hear from you and all the things, the amazing things that you do. So yeah, we'll share like more of the case studies and things like that towards the end. But yeah, let's tackle that question when we get towards the end, because that's a good question.
Okay.
Hope we can get that. Excellent. So
Nice one. So, thanks again, Judith. It's so nice to have you. I think Judith's like superstar celebrity. We've been trying to get hold of her for about 6 months. So now that we've got you, we're not going to let go. Just saying. No, it's really great to hear from you. And I think your question about watering actually will probably carry on then in the next talk.
Okay.
Next up, we've got Sarah from Redcliffe. We were hopefully going to be joined by Marky, who's another resident local, but I think he's a little bit busy. But we've got Sarah, who is going to tell us a little bit about the Redcliffe gardening group, who we've been working with over the last 9 months, which has gone really fast. And you've been working in Redcliffe for a long time. So yeah, really excited to hear about the project and what you've been getting up to.
Thank you. Well, I'm sorry that Marky isn't here, because he knows the history of the gardening group, which goes on longer than I've been here. I've probably been here about 8 years now. So recently the group needed a little bit more support, and it's always a struggle because it's a small group and people come and go a bit, but there's a core of people who are very dedicated. So I said, why don't I apply some money from the council? And we got SIL funding. We got SIL funding for £6,000, which I could not believe. So we had this really good plan of sort of transforming one small area, really. And it's an area that's between the flats off Somerset Street, if you know Redcliffe. So we started off, we managed to get a course actually to have the beds built with Bristol City Council. And that was great. 2 of the people who actually built them, put them up for us, have sort of hung around and become involved in other parts of the gardening. And you can see those beds there. We've been growing lettuce and peas and broad beans. And further down, we've got things like potatoes and beetroot and chard. Can't remember what's in there now. So we, when we had the bags of soil, you can see the bags of soil there arrive. We are and really, I have to say, I've done it a bit too ad hoc. You know what these things are like. You think, great, we'll just get the bags delivered. And then there was a problem with the bags getting on site. Somebody had parked over the lane where the truck was supposed to come down and all that sort of thing. So we've been through all those hurdles, really. But then we thought it was a lot of stuff to get, a lot of spade work, really. So we got the charity Good Gym, and they came and helped us, and they filled the beds up in a couple of nights, because they come with about 15, maybe more people sometimes. So that's just a tip for you. They're absolutely brilliant at any sort of community things. They run to the site to get their exercise, and then they do their community work. We'd also, as you can see the middle photo, you can see that there's a little bit of gap between the beds. And when we got to put them on site, we saw that the council had planted trees where we wanted to put them. Now, bearing in mind that we'd sort of organised all this with the council, but one department hadn't sort of got the message through to the other. So we then had to get somebody to come down and move the trees, which they did quite promptly. And I explained to the man that, you know, we'd wanted to plant fruit trees on there. That had been part of our plan, but that there were heating pipes under the ground there anyway. And he said to me, do you want some trees? So we said, yes, please. And he basically said, how many do you want? So we had 14 fruit trees, again, for free. Bearing in mind that I've been given all this money from the council, and by this point, I'm beginning to wonder how I'm going to actually spend it. But I think it's one of those things, when you start a project, people throw things at you, nice things, hopefully. And that's sort of what's been happening. So I've been talking to Ty for a long time about this, and we'd done consultation in the flats and about what they would actually like to see there. And we went to Grow Wilder. We got lots of wildflower seeds. She helped us to get free veggies through the council. And yes, that's a picture of Grow Wilder. So we literally went and chose a load of plants. It was great. And it's such a lovely place. It was brilliant. It was like a really nice day out for people that really encouraged them in what we're doing. So we've now got to the point, there's quite a few things growing, and we're actually beginning to see a lot of insects. There was a slide of some insects there just now. And you can just see the area beginning to change. And it's amazing. It has coincided with this No Mow May scheme. I mean, actually, council didn't do that locally, but they have been doing this thing, you probably know, where they leave the verges and they don't mow everything all at the same time. So I've sent a message, which I hope has gone through, to say, please don't mow the edges of this green space, which you can see from the dog rows and things like that. But it just makes so much difference. And there's somewhere for the insects to go. Last year, I tried to do a nature trail with local children. And I end up really struggling to find anything, which is not like me. And we ended up doing a tree trail because that was all that was there. And I'm thinking this year, it could be quite different. Today, we've had the local children's centre come down and they've planted flowers in one of the smaller beds. And they've made a load of bug boxes. And I'm only sorry that I didn't have the photographs of that for you quick enough for this evening. We've got the local youth group coming on board. They're going to do similar things. And I think they want you to speak to them, Ty. And so really, it's a case of lots of events this year to celebrate what we're doing, to get attention and draw people in. And this year, this one little part of Redcliffe, tomorrow the rest of Redcliffe, and then the world, really. I think it's just got to keep going and keep going. And what our plan was, my vision in the first place, was to sort of signpost the different sections of garden that exist across the estate. I'll just explain that they're all guerrilla gardening, really. We don't have a set space. We do have a lock-up shed where plants have been almost grown in the dark. I don't know how they've grown. We've got a little tiny garden at the back of Face Space that I run. And we've just got these little bits, but we're gradually building up, I think, our capacity and just to really change those, what is just like blank grass, really. There's quite a lot of that around the estate. And it's just to really turn it into something and then signpost the whole area, like this is our local garden. And brilliant thanks to Avon Wildlife, of course.
Thanks, Sarah. I've got a couple more minutes, so just one question I want to quickly ask. What's been the biggest thing that you've learned this year?
I think about, you know, when you try a new project and it's always a risk and you don't know if people are going to join in. I had no idea how we were going to build these beds. I've got to be honest. Perhaps I didn't plan it as well as I should have. I don't know. But at every stage, something has happened or someone's told somebody else and something has happened. And I think it's that really, which is just so encouraging. And then seeing the kids, you know, putting these plants in today and making their bug boxes is just amazing. And I can see the capacity for, you know, young people to learn about the nature that's around them, which is something that I grew up with and have so benefited from. And just to see that carry on, really.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. That's so encouraging. It's so great to hear that all the work that you guys have put into just, you know, really starting from scratch, like you say, on this land that had nothing on it, and you've built all these beds, you've got all these planters in with a really small group of dedicated residents who just really care about where they live and really want to help make residents' lives better. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing. It's so inspiring to hear from you as always. And yeah, thank you so much.
And we've got Chris next as well from Emerson's Green, and yeah, it's really amazing what Chris has done for his local community with the volunteers. And yeah, I'll let him share what he's done, but definitely, yeah, prepare to be amazed, honestly. Over to you, Chris.
Thank you, Sophie. Yeah, so I'll try and share the screen with you to take us through. Yeah, so I've been involved in Friends of Emerson's Green Park. This is very much a group activity. I don't want to be held up as the person who's done it all by any means. Friends of Emerson's Green Park, so we obviously look after our park and its users. That's the basis, but we're also interested in encouraging interest in the natural world and building community life. So we got those three aims really. We began with in 2011 with planting a community orchard in our park. This was actually just a farmer's field when we started effectively. Our park here in Emerson's Green is really an interesting space. We've got this sort of tidy, ordinary metal play equipment on one side of the park, but on the other side of the park, it's almost semi-wild. And this is where we situated our community orchard. So it's built on forest garden principles with a multi-layered fruiting system with grapes growing up green alder and kiwis and other such things. So it's got a lot of height and a lot of fruit both on the ground. So we've got strawberries and rhubarb, and next layer you've got raspberries that the children love, and higher up you've got the top fruit, normal apples and pears and things. So that's established now, and we're very pleased with it, and we look after it, and it's supposed to feel semi-wild. We've done a number of wildflower beds in it to encourage wildlife within the orchard. As well, we've done a few projects that are a bit more sort of obvious to the community. I mean, we were thrilled with the reaction to the orchard as we did it. Lots of people would stop and say how much they appreciated it. But these we call the Dome Village now. We started building one dome last year, and it was just so popular with toddlers who would wander down the wood chip paths and sit on the logs and have to go in there every time they visited the park, that we decided this year we'd make a couple more domes and build some fences, and it's a magnet for little people and their parents, and it's actually on the tidy side of the park right next to the play equipment, so it does attract a lot of attention to people. So everybody in the community is aware of our group. Well, I say that, no, not everybody, but a good number of people are aware of our group and seem to like what we're doing. We've done other things like building a dry stone wall, and even last year we had a go at learning hedge laying. We've done some bird surveys and plant surveys in the park. So all in the interests of building community life, encouraging interest in nature and interest in the park. It was, I think last September, I had a word with Ben Barker, who's often on these campfire meetings, and he told me about an initiative in Felixstowe, which they were calling Community Nature Reserve, which was an attempt to try to get people's private gardens involved, as well as working like this for wildlife. And I was inspired by that conversation and by Adrian Cooper, who set up the original one in Felixstowe. And the long and short of it is our town council embraced the idea and have launched an Emerson's Green community nature reserve as a way of pulling together all that South Gloss as a council are trying to do in the area with local nature action plans, and our town council, who we work with quite strongly in Emerson's Green, to incorporate private gardens, because they're such a huge resource, private gardens. particularly obviously in urban areas. And so the thought is, if we can encourage people to make their gardens friendly to wildlife, in whatever way they want to do, really, in whatever way they're able to do, because people have different opportunities here, it might just make a considerable difference. So we launched this thing in January. I think Sophie was there. And we also had an interest from the Common Connections project in South Gloss, which is interested in wildlife corridors and done a lot of work plotting those through South Gloss. And the long and short of it is that since then we've registered 224 gardens at the last count, spread right across our town council area, which we're really delighted about. And it was helped particularly by the Common Connections people sending out a letter to everybody in the town council area talking about the Community Nature Reserve. That got a lot more gardens registered. So now we have this substantial community here of people in the local area who are interested in wildlife. And when they register their gardens, they tell us the little things they're doing, or maybe the substantial things they're doing in their garden for wildlife. It might be a pond, it might be a wildflower area, whatever. And it's been very exciting to be part of. We did our now. I'm on the climate and nature group at the town council. The aim is to just encourage this process and see what wants to happen. Box building workshop in March, where we built 50 bird boxes with people. 65 people came along in 3 tranches. We were overwhelmed by the number of people that wanted to do that. And next Saturday we're having a garden open day, and several of the gardens around the area are open to the public so that people can go and see what's happening. And that we think will be fun. There's 14 spaces open, I think, for the public next Saturday. And the next thing the Community Nature Reserve will be doing after that will be our Earth Fest. Now this is put on by Friends of Emerson's Green Park. It's on July the 1st this year. It's one in the series. We've gradually built this up more and more seriously. Our aim is to celebrate our relationship with the earth. All those words are important. That we're celebrating, we're not criticizing, we're not doing anything like that. We're celebrating, and we're recognizing that the earth, we all depend on the earth. And the practical part of that is an engagement with nature. And so we have naturalists Ed Druitt and Steve England taking people for walks. Avon Wildlife Trust will be there. Sean will be selling wildflowers, and actually we've got an interesting thing called a Garden of Promise this year, where people are encouraged to buy a wildflower from Sean and place it in the garden while making a promise to the earth. Their own promise, it's whatever they want to say. And later on, we will plant the wildflowers around the park that are left in the garden. Just something we're trying. We have, the school have composed a song for the earth, which they'll be performing with the help of Algie Berens. I'll be telling a story called The Earth and Us, which is a journey through Earth history, together with storyteller Michael Loader and musician Fiona Barrow. I've come to feel that the story of the earth is the truly great story. Sorry. It's the really great story in which we all live. I'm dying. It is the story of the earth is the history of histories, the geography of geographies, and it tells the story of the earth as the one great living system on which all life depends. So that will be fun to do, particularly to work with Michael and Fiona and it'll involve people, there'll be dance, etc. along the way. So the festival has ordinary things like craft stalls and music. Other musical implements. We'll have the Brigstow Village Band, who are a rural themed band, come along. They've been around before. A local choir, Great Day Choir. So lots of things going on at our festival. As I say, we're still finding our way how to do this, but the idea is that once a year we call everyone together who's involved in these nature-related projects to celebrate what we're doing. A community nature reserve will have its own tent and be a major focus and be running workshops there. That's sort of what we're doing. That's probably my 10 minutes. Happy to answer your questions. My big aim in all this is to try to shift our culture towards respect for the earth. I actually think that's the big challenge of this age that we live in. How do we do that? And encouraging an interest in the natural world seems a great way in. There's really there's no resistance to that amongst people. So that seems to me the place to go. There we go. Thank you very much, Sophie.
Brilliant. Thanks ever so much, Chris. That's great. Yeah, I mean the achievements that you've made with getting everyone so many people to register their gardens. It's really impressive, and bringing it together with all the volunteers and the events. It all links together to strengthen that community spirit. Really good to hear. Thanks ever so much. So should we do some? Oh, we've got we've got Emma as well, haven't we, to do an update for the Wildlife Champions. And then we'll
thank you so much again, Chris. It was really it was so lovely to hear about the festival and how that all started. And let's hold on to that thought about changing culture. That's really something that I'd love to explore more in this discussion. That's really poignant. Just want to quickly, before we go into the Q&A session, have a bit more of an open discussion. We've just got Emma joining us from the Avon Wildlife Trust team, who's going to tell us a little bit about the Wildlife Champions project. Go ahead, Emma.
Thank you, Ty. Hi, everyone. I'm just going to share my screen quickly. Can everyone see that?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, super. So my name's Emma. I'm the Wildlife Champions Assistant at Avon Wildlife Trust. And I just wanted to talk to you quickly about our new project, which is called the Wildlife Champions Programme. And so with this programme, we are looking for wildlife champions across Avon. So on this map, you can see these are the postcode areas that we're covering at the moment. So broadly kind of central Bristol, you've got 2 in Bath, 1 in kind of Yate and 1 in BS11. But we are looking to expand that into more postcode areas in the future. So if that doesn't cover your postcode area right now, don't worry, it will be covered down the line. So what is a wildlife champion? It's basically anyone who has a passion for nature in their community, who really wants to inspire other people to come together and just support nature to thrive in their local area. We're really committed to supporting unlikely leaders and underrepresented groups, really kind of celebrating that individuality of each of the champions and their communities. So what will you get out of it? How will we support you at Avon Wildlife Trust? So we're going to help champions to become ambassadors for nature in their local communities. We're going to be setting up and facilitating this big peer support network, so where all the champions can share resources, skills, knowledge, just all share those ideas with each other in this big supportive network. And we'll also be providing the free ecological advisory service through Esther, where we can offer resources, training and workshops. So this is just a couple of ideas of some of the things that you could be supported in as a wildlife champion. So things like fundraising, help with volunteer recruitment, maybe you want help with wildlife surveying, photography and filmmaking. These are just examples. It's very much kind of down to what the champions and their communities want. So yeah, if you're interested in becoming a champion or know someone who's interested, feel free to contact me. I'll put my email in the chat and we can send that out after in the email. But yeah, just wanted to let you know about it's a very exciting new project and hopefully some of you on this call would be happy to get involved. Thank you. I'll pass back over to you, Ty.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Emma. Yeah, it's a really exciting project. And it really kind of ties into this community organising approach that we're really trying to have at the Trust, that kind of Team Wilder, supporting people in their local communities, and your community knows you. You know the area you live really well, and we can support you to kind of work with the people you live with in the area where you're based to support nature on your doorstep. So if anyone's interested and just wants to find out a little bit more about that program, then please get in touch with Emma or just ping us an email afterwards. If you don't want to put yourself forward, then if you know someone in your neighbourhood as well that you think would be a great fit, then please do pass on that information too, because we'd love to meet them. Great, so that's all the speakers for this evening. Thank you so much to Judith, to Sarah, and to Chris for sharing all of your expertise, your knowledge, your passion. It's so inspiring to hear from you all, and just to know that there are amazing people like yourselves out there across the Avon region who are just working so hard to protect nature where you live, and who are getting people involved in your neighbourhood. So massive thank you from everyone at the Trust for all the amazing work you do. It's so inspiring to hear from you. And we've been trying to get you guys online for a long time, so it's really great to finally have that happen. For the next, what time are we on? We've got 15 minutes, so we've gone over a little bit, but that's okay, just because, yeah, just amazing to hear what you guys do. So for the last 15 minutes of this evening, it is really up for you guys. This is open to the floor for everyone who's here this evening to ask questions, to share advice. If you've got any tips or knowledge or anything that you'd like to ask our speakers, then please do pop that in the chat. And if you're feeling comfortable, please do unmute yourself and join the discussion as well. While I just start off, I'm just going to start off with reading the first question in the chat, but if anyone wants to jump in, please just unmute yourself and go for it. Right, let's see. So one thing that came up actually quite a lot with Judith was watering. Watering is a big issue, especially at the moment. We're having some really dry, long, hot summers, and I know watering is coming up a lot for you as well, Sarah. Is that right? I know.
Yes,
we tried some budget watering adventures, but I'll let you explain. I'll let you explain that.
So we it's not the sort of place you can put water butts and expect them not to be burnt or removed or whatever. So we're having to carry water. We have got access to some taps in the shoot rooms and the blocks of flats and things like that. So I've been doing a look online and buy different things because I've got this funding to try and see what works best. And I did buy these. They look like fertilizer bags with like a cap in the top, and you lie them flat in a wheelbarrow, because I was thinking it was going to be me and mainly one other person that were keeping control of the water and make sure it was actually done. The only problem with them is the plastic. They got holes in them fairly quickly. The idea was good, but not that good. I'm going to try, I could put on the chat, those camping water barrels that you pull along. It costs about 50 quid, but they seem quite bomb-proof. At least you can pull them along. So I don't know what other ideas people have got. The other thing was I'd asked Ty in the beginning with our new beds, and she told me about hugel culture. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
And they do it in Germany. They do it like a big mound, and the bottom of it has got like quite big sticks and branches and things. And then you sort of fill the gaps in with organic material like grass clippings or leaf litter, and you pack it all down quite hard. And then you put your topsoil on the top of it. So the idea is that those sticks and things will actually break down, and it's a bit like a big compost heap, really. So what they do over there is they plant the plants at the top of the mound, which need the least water, and steadily down the sides that need more. Obviously, ours aren't a mound, they're like a big bed. But I'll have to let you know how that's going. I know we'll have to water it a lot this year. That's the advice. But after that, it's supposed to sort of trap the moisture. and you don't need to water it so much, apparently. So we'll see if that works.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I think the key to that, to your answer, is kind of just experimentation, isn't it? So just trying lots of different things, seeing
Yeah.
what works. And kind of to add to that as well, in Barton Hill, we've also tried lots of different types of mulching. So we've tried bark chip and leaf litter and all kinds of things, just to cover the top layer of soil and reduce that kind of exposure to the sun. So yeah, if anyone else has got any ideas, please do pop them in the chat. It'd be great to know what you guys have tried as well. Great. So the next question, I just lost it. Bear with me. So there's a question from Mazzy. I'm just going to say Mazzy because I don't want to pronounce your name wrong. Mazzy. Mazzy says, it's really lovely to see a forest garden, Chris. We're trying to do something similar at Froome Valley Growing Project, and I'm wondering if you have any problems with deer or rabbits.
So one of the more difficult things about Emerson's Green is the great big ring road that runs around the outside of it, or actually across it now, A4174, and that actually keeps deer and rabbits, well, certainly keeps deer away from our park, so we don't have a problem with deer. We have had problems, like Sarah reported, with council doing things wrong in the early stages of our orchard. Half of it got mowed down by the mowing team, which was sad, but they put some dragon's teeth post around it in response to make sure it didn't happen again. And we have a good relationship with them, but yes, so we don't suffer from deer, and rabbits are, well, they're not near. They're on Rodway Common, but they're not near our park. So no, we don't. But you could, there are ways of protecting. And when we first planted our top fruit, they were in serious metal cages. The one problem we had actually was with some people who decided to uproot some of the trees. I've got one cherry tree that was uprooted 3 times. It's still alive, but only just.
Yeah, I mean, we've struggled with deer. We've had to tree protect our trees quite seriously, or they've been damaged. It's meant establishing fruit bushes underneath them has been quite tricky. The only things the deer don't seem to like eating is gooseberries because they're spiky. So that's worked quite well. Just trying to think what else hasn't been eaten as a sort of underplanting, but it's very difficult to get currant bushes or anything like that established to try and set up a sort of guild of plants beneath. It's actually been quite a hard work doing that. Yes. So we're experimenting with a bit of wild garlic in the hope they won't enjoy that.
Yes. I mean, we planted some rubus tricolour, so ground cover raspberry, early on. You've got to be careful with that because it takes over, actually. I mean, that can be too successful if you're not careful.
And unfortunately, they've eaten the raspberries before they had a chance. The rhubarb, they don't like rhubarb. That's gone well. That's stayed in.
Yeah. No, rubus tricolour is called ground cover raspberry, but it's not. Right. It's not really a raspberry. Yeah. It's just a very vigorous plant that will keep grasses down.
Perhaps we'll have to look into that. Thank you.
we also plant willow quite a lot, and early on I used green alder as a structure. So that's the kiwis and the grapes grow up green alder.
The bad news is they like willow too, but I liked your willow domes because they don't seem to want to go into a structure.
No,
they will ring bark anything if it's out in the open, and they'll take strips off the outside of a dome, but they don't seem to go and browse inside. So that has survived a couple of years. But no, anyway, thank you very much. Thanks.
Yeah, no, I'm pleased to hear you're trying. Yeah.
Yeah, Mazzy, you'll have to let us know how you get on in the next campfire. Give us an update. Great. So the next question from Katie is kind of open to everyone. So Sarah, Chris, or Judith. Katie says she'd be interested to know if any of the members have come up against any negativity or resistance from members of the community, and if so, what they've done to keep up good relations and avoid things escalating.
I suppose I did have at the beginning, if you remember, Ty, you came and helped because we did some door knocking style consultation. There was somebody in a local residents meeting who said, we don't want anything there. We don't want that on our doorstep. And the reason, I think, was they were worried about it, sort of, if we put benches, for instance, that they might get an increase in antisocial behaviour. So I did manage to say that, you know, we were definitely consulting the people in the local flats, the ones that were just nearby overlooking the area and all that sort of thing. And most of the people were really for it. They didn't necessarily want to be involved in the gardening themselves, but they were quite happy to look out the window and say, oh, that looks nice. The one thing they asked was that it would look as natural as possible, which was interesting. I haven't heard any more from the people involved, but we did try to speak to them, but they didn't actually answer their door on the day we were there, unfortunately. I think constantly about keeping in touch and asking people what they want, really.
Yeah,
it's their place, you know, it's their, they live there, you know.
yeah. I haven't had I've had little bits of feedback and different, you know, understandings about gangster gardening and what they want, but I usually just find by keeping up good consistent communication and letting people know what's happening has really makes a change. There has been, what happened one time? Oh, right. So I started doing what I was doing in my community, and then other people started to do what they were doing. You know, I would tell them how I done it. And then sometimes what I'd find is somebody from the council will come and speak to me about a space that I haven't, that I've got nothing to do with. And then they would go, oh, can you remove the barriers? What, the netting? No, I can't. You need to ask them yourselves. You know, well, we'll ask them by taking it down. And I just said, good luck. You see what happens when you try and take down their netting and their vegetables. You know what I mean? It's not worth the stress from maybe not communicating and maybe helping them to come up with other ways of not using netting, or what was the reason for it. And we've got a lot of people in our community who do gardening in different ways, and some of it is what they're used to. That's provided them food before. So yeah, you know, they don't want new butterflies regardless of the wildfire or this, they're not interested. So there's that you're combating as well. But I think just helping people to understand their space and their place in their communities. And some of it is, I mean, I had one good when I thought the council were gonna, I'd taken over that corner by me. Well, not taking it over, I started doing it. And the council came one day and they were cutting every, you know, they kind of were doing, I don't know, I call it a gut. They were gutting things down, yeah? Do you know what I mean? Things they've let grow. And anyway, I ran out there and just had spoke with the head gardener. I didn't know he was the head gardener, but he was really nice. And I said, look, can you leave this corner alone? And he's like, yeah. What do you need? How can I help you? Now I nearly fainted because I thought there was going to be a whole lot of drama, and there wasn't. And he got one of his guys to cut some grass because I didn't have a trimmer or anything. So that's when I knew that I don't have to have this conflictual energy. And they're trying to do a job just like everybody else. So it's about communication, and I'm improving. I'm still a little bit stubborn. I'm improving.
Yeah, that's great. No, it's great. It's a really good point that both of you mentioned. Like, yeah, just, you know, talking to people around you, making sure everyone feels like they have a say and they're being asked what they want, and you're not just making decisions on behalf of the neighborhood.
You're not deciding for them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Too much of that has happened, and that just brings people's back up straight away. It's not worth the end. It's not worth it when you're trying. And if I make a mistake, I actually do say I'm sorry. But what I'm lucky about is I'm not a council employee or anything. So if I say sorry, I just say sorry. There's nothing more You know, who are they going to write a letter of complaint to? You know, the fresh air. It's fine.
Amazing. We've got 1 minute left, so just to
Ooh,
kind of
1 minute.
finish
Wow.
on a really nice thing that Chris mentioned about that kind of culture change. Just to kind of finish on that, is there any kind of last thoughts on how can we help shift the culture in the communities that we work with? How can we help people to kind of have more of a culture of protecting nature where we live?
I want to say something about this.
Mm.
I was thinking it today because of these toddlers and their parents planting plants and making bug boxes, and I just thought, if they at that age learn that bugs are okay and they're not something to be stamped on, or I got dirty because I put my finger in the earth, that is so important. I don't know if you can just start there, but I think that's an important place with the kids.
Yeah, I love that, Sarah. We have some little people part of our group each week, and they really enrich us. But also they are in the soil. They are, you know, they and they love it. And I think that's a really positive thing.
Yeah, I would agree with that also, but I also feel it's essential that to help people have their nature back is having spaces that look beautiful, you know, beyond, you know, we've got Portland Square and St. Paul's, and you know, that's like a manicured, like you have your nail done. Do you know what I mean? That's how beautiful that is in Brunswick Square. Now you go to other areas, nothing else is kept like that. So you've got to go into the city centre or to, I don't know, some flower festival somewhere to see anything, you know, kind of blooming beautiful, or someone's garden. And you don't really get that in urban areas too much. And I think that's, if we can I mean, they do something in Bemister, don't they? Where the houses or the streets, they all plant stuff and they come. I met the guy there the other day. Amazing how he started off, and before you knew it, a bit like somebody else here, he had 300 to 400 people entering in there. And I think those are the things that need to start again, and that we start looking after our area. It's not just up to the council, it's up to every individual to contribute to making their area, you know, that piece of plastic that could be swallowed by a bird, it can cover a plant, it can destroy the soil. You know, we need to just keep relaying those messages. Oh, thank you. Good gardens competition. Thank you, Jan.
Great. Well, a massive thank you again, everyone. Just, yeah, again, so lovely to hear from Sarah, from Chris, from Judith, and yeah, that lovely thought. What a nice thought to end on, that we all need to look after and love a little bit more where we live. So big thanks everyone for joining us this evening. I hope you had a good time. I hope you learned something, you were inspired. If you had a good time, or if you didn't, we'd love to hear about it. Please give us some feedback. We'll be hosting the next campfire in September, which is going to be in person, which we're very excited about. It'll be a lovely celebration in person with food, and we'll get to meet everyone. Maybe. We'll see. Gotta keep it clean. Yeah, that will be a lovely evening though. It'll be so nice to meet some of you in person. So if you can make it, please join us. And yeah, big thank you everyone. Hope you enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. Have a great evening, everybody.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.